All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit for IARA's 8-hour enduro here at Mid-Ohio. Real quick, let's go ahead and look at some of the drivers who will be partaking here in Stint 2. HYR Spirit will be jumping into one of the Porsches. Indio Ardno will be in the pink and white Shark Tooth Porsche. Two Kind Flora will be in one of the other Porsches. Whoosh Planks will be in the SPR Porsche. ZR Villa will be going back-to-back stints. AFZ Minerio will be taking over for ZR Villa in this Porsche that came home third in the last stint. NDL Shadow will be jumping into one of the Porsches as well. NDL Light will be taking over one of the Acuras. Ferrari will be back in the number 11 Acura. LMP Porsche will be in an Acura. Yes, I know that seems incredibly bonkers. NDL Dindu will be taking over in one of the Team Noodle Acuras. HYR Fabi will be back in the lone Mercedes GT in the field. Warrior Knight will be in one of the two near completely irrelevant Chevrolets, as will Neil RCK and Maz MTOS. In the touring car category, Fear to Mask will be going back-to-back stints, as will Sergeant Stravosky and Floppy Disk Hero and TBR Badge. RMS Rookie will be taking over in one of the Honda entries, and Keen Bryce 828 will be taking over in the other Audi entry here. So it's going to take just a little bit of time for them to get the grid properly ordered up here. Stint 1 proved to be pretty chaotic, but not so chaotic that the results were completely random. It seems pretty obvious that the NDL guys have a death grip on the field, along with the ZR entry, and it seems like only the Porsches and Acuras have pace to fight for a top 5 position, while that Mercedes was in a spot to be running in 5th for a prolonged period of time. That was only out the back of one of the Acuras having an accident, and that Acura did eventually drive its way back into the top 5 results. So yeah, not the greatest balancing we have ever seen, sad to say, but the driver-on-driver combat does seem to be quite solid to make up for it. In the touring car category, it's a lot more up in the air. Overtaking seems to be just about impossible in the touring cars normally. However, the touring cars seem to be very, very sensitive to traffic and seem to be a lot more mistake prone. So despite having a smaller field, that category has been incredibly wild to watch throughout the entire time right now. As we're preparing to get underway here for what will be Stint 2, we are anticipating it will be another nice and easy green flag rolling start, and we might actually end up, we've started basically 10 to 12 minutes behind schedule in Stint 1, and it's likely we're going to be hanging out about that all the way through here because we don't have to spend a significant amount of time prolonged held up. All right, here we are, loaded onto the circuit proper now as we prepare to get underway for racing at Mid-Ohio once again for Stint 2 out of what will be 4 in total. It's going to be Acura versus Porsche for the top 5 positions, but what order will they be in? Which teams will it be at the top? That is the question. And who can navigate traffic the best here? Traffic not as much of an issue as was initially anticipated, but still enough of an issue to cause some significant knock-on effects throughout a race. One, and we are off and underway once again here at Mid-Ohio, and immediately look at the dive to the inside, and they hit the inside wall. It was a big dive, but they hit the inside wall, and that's going to cause a bit of a stack up here. And NDL Dindu is going to fall to 3rd position now as Porsches go 1-2. The field immediately explodes into chaos. Complete chaos. The Porsche high centers it on the curb, slides wide. They're all over each other, banging and door slamming over each other as they come out of the keyhole. They're going to be nearly 3 wide. Chevy and 2 Porsches as they go through the kink. And looks like HYR Spirit's going to be able to hold on to 7th position for the moment. A little bit of contact farther up. That is HYR Fabi, who is in the Mercedes. It looks like they have stabilized in the 6th position, so they might still be able to make something of it. But at the front is NDL's Ardno, who is... What? I mean, at least pi is a real number, but what? Anyways, NDL Ardno is your race leader for the moment, with NDL Shadow running in 2nd position right now. 3rd place is NDL Didn't Do. 4th place is ZR Villa, who tried to make it through after a lead, but hit the inside wall and bled off a massive amount of time. Followed by NDL Light, who is in this Acura that has that irrational number I for its identifying number right now. And then 6th place is HYR Fabi, the highest of all the non-Acura and non-Porsches in the field once again. Meanwhile, in the bottom category, your leader is TBR Badge 79, staying just a little bit ahead of RMS Rookie. Behind them is Fear Damask, followed by Sergeant Stravosky, Floppy Disk Hero, and King Bryce, who has completely fallen off the pace. This is the 2nd time we have seen this car already off the pace very early. I have to wonder if it's not a driver issue, if there is a build issue or a tune issue with that Audi touring car. But meanwhile, we look at the front. It is Porsche, Acura here, all nose to tail at the moment. All 3 NDL entries right now. NDL drivers finished 1st, 2nd, and 4th in the last stint. They're trying to do one better here right now in stint 2. ZR Villa just runs a little bit behind along with NDL Light. Oh, Shadow gets hit from behind by Didn't Do. Both of those cars end up stepping out extremely wide in the process. Oh, and Shadow's off! Shadow is way off! And he's going to lose 1, 2, maybe even 3 positions! So Shadow now falls all the way back to the 5th spot on circuit. After being hit by Didn't Do. And now he goes off again in turn 1. Shadow seems to be struggling in that number 53 machine very early on here. As Spirit and Fabi are having a fight, it looks like Spirit in the Porsche gets by Fabi in that Mercedes. Mazem TOS now hemorrhaging ground as well as he falls behind Bush Planks, Neil Rick, and AFZ Minario. In fact, Minario is actually going to use that straight line speed to get by Neil Rick, so he moves up into 10th place now. No sign of further changes right here at the front, though. NDL Didn't Do continues to run in the 2nd position on track. Just a little bit behind Ardno, so it is now Porsche, Acura, Porsche, and ZR Villa is back into the top 3 where he finished the last stint. NDL Light runs in 4th, which is roughly where he ran a good chunk of the prior stint, and NDL Shadow runs in the 5th position now. Bush Planks is in 9th, leading this glut of cars, including Monero, Neil Rick, Mosmatos, and LMP Porsche, and Two Kind Flora. Warrior Knight runs just a little bit behind all of them. Real quickly, we'll go ahead and ride on board with Two Kind Flora as he looks at this giant glut of cars just ahead. It does seem like, though, Flora is struggling a little bit with power down coming out of some of these corners, though. I can't really tell you who the big movers are because if you look at the ticker options, the only thing I have is changes from the start. Oh, okay, yeah, I can. Sorry, I do have changes from the start. So there you are. Your biggest movers thus far seems to be AFZ Minario, who has gone from 15th to 9th. And then Ferrari, who's gone from 11th to 8th. LMP Porsche has also gone from 14th to 10th. Toucan Flora, one of your biggest losers thus far. He has dropped 5 positions from the start. As Ardno gets completely sideways there in the second to last corner. And mistakes like that will keep NDL Didn't Do right behind and on top of you. Again, we're right on board with Two Kinds Flora here. As it looks at this giant glut of cars ahead, but Flora seems to be struggling just a little bit with putting power down, coming out of these corners here. And it's catching the rear of his Porsche all sorts of sideways. Flora's got a bit of a run, but not enough of one to get alongside into the braking zone. They're side by side ahead of him, and he runs right into the back of that number 11. Now they fire out of the keyhole, back down the straightaway once again. This time Flora's got a fantastic draft. Is this going to be enough? As this big glut of cars fires off into turn 4, Flora tries to go around the outside, could not make it stick in the end. Here go your leaders. Didn't do right underneath Ardno at the moment. The way this is going, it does seem like right now, at least, Dindu is a little bit stronger on track than Ardno is. Dindu in that Internet Explorer machine, tucked up behind Ardno at the moment. Power down. It's still clean on track right now. No worry about traffic for a while, at least. Here comes the move. Dindu comes to the inside. He's got to run. He's going to dive. Can he make it stick? And he will. So Dindu in the Acura goes to the top. Ardno tries to cross over on the exit. But the Internet Explorer machine is not done yet. Now Ardno still has the inside line. And Ardno goes back in front of Dindu now. This section here is good for overtaking touring cars, but not very good for GT on GT action. Dindu doesn't seem to care. He's got the nose of his Acura right underneath the Porsche's rear wing. Doesn't pull out of line though, but he is actively trying to get that pink and white Porsche to just slide off the ideal racing line a bit. Nothing there, nothing yet. Bit of a twitch and slide by Dindu coming out of turn 1. That set him up for attack potentially from ZR Villa. Villa's not going to do anything crazy going into the keyhole, but he will take a tighter line trying to get to the inside of that Acura. So now Dindu is at risk of maybe being dive bombed by ZR Villa here at the end of the straight. Can Villa get close enough? I do not think so. I think Dindu has a slightly higher top end. Indeed, Dindu actually ends up closing right back up behind Ardno by the end of the straight. So that Acura setup, at least for Dindu's car, is very well set up for straight line speed. It is not nearly as well set up for cornering is my guess. But having a good straight line speed setup means that being overtaken on merit is going to be almost impossible here. Villa is going to need Dindu to have some sort of catastrophic mistake if he wants to try and get alongside that Acura here. Our top 3 in GT all running pretty much nose to tail on track right now. Dindu's just a little bit wide there. And now we have NDL Light coming up onto this battle. So we have Porsche, Acura, and then I believe another Porsche for our top 5 positions right now. And NDL drivers take 4 of the top 5 spots on circuit at the moment. Right on board with Dindu. He is right underneath Ardno. Is he going to go for a move again this time? He's looking to the outside. Outside's not usually going to work. This ain't going to work. Boys, Dindu's going to have to back out, but he's got to tire in the dirt to make a little bit of contact. Can he keep it on track? He's still on track somehow. He's still side by side. Ardno sends around the outside, but Ardno will have the inside line going into this following corner. One of the slower corners on track. They're still side by side, but Dindu puts the power down. He fires out, and Dindu gets the lead in that Acura. It's a little bit sideways coming out. Ardno is still there, and now ZR Villa is there as well. Light's falling off just a little bit. Didn't do a little bit wide in the third to last corner. Now to this big, ultra slow sweeper here. Doesn't look like he's going to be challenged. I think Dindu has enough straight line speed. He'll be able to blitz away from the rest of the field without too much issue here. What of Ardno? Because now Ardno will be getting the draft off of Dindu. Will that be enough for Ardno to use as a defense against ZR Villa just behind him? It does seem like it is enough. Ardno is pulling away from Villa just a little bit in the straight this time. Enough to be able to defend the position. So it seems like our top few spots on track have pretty much calmed down right now. They are about to catch traffic in the form of Keen Bryce, who is last in the touring car category right now. Oh, a little bit of contact, Porsche on Porsche contact there. But they'll all stay on circuit just for the moment. And that's Keen Bryce in touring car traffic just ahead. Going to prove to be a bit of a headache for this duo. For the trio as well, it seems. But Ardno will get by around the outside. Villa follows. Oh, but Ardno is so sideways coming out of the final corner. Villa's got to run. Villa looks to the outside to make a little bit of contact. Both Porsches are sideways. But I think Villa's going to go into the dirt, and Villa is now going to fall a position back. So now NDL Light goes up into third position. And Villa slips back to fourth. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll return momentarily here to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. What in the devil? This is madness. I mean, somehow everyone is roughly still on track, but this is insanity. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. ZR Villa got back by Ardno after Ardno slipped off circuit in turn one. Now Villa trying to put some pressure on NDL Light, but NDL Dindu is vanishing off into the distance. It is Acura, Porsche for your top 5 positions right now. Then there's another Porsche back there in 6th position, way farther back. 7 places Mercedes. Your leaders in the touring car category, it is currently RMS Rookie who leads, followed by TBR Badge 79. So that black and gold lightning machine now trying to recover a bit from the chaos from earlier. Meanwhile, Light picking his way through traffic carefully, trying to open the gap between himself and ZR Villa. Villa just goes ahead and dumps him! Fear to Mass just got completely dumped by ZR Villa. That is the kind of thing that will likely get looked at post-event. Meanwhile, elsewhere on track, this is Didn't Do, Light, Villa, Ardno, and Shadow. Didn't Do's held up a little bit by traffic, it seems, but not so much that it's put him at massive risk at the moment. I do think, though, that our top three have pretty much stabilized at this point, but Ardno and Shadow are still going at it. So this duo could go in either direction, depending on how they set up their run as they get by the last of traffic here. Here comes a move to the inside by Shadow, door banging. Another door bang. It looks like Ardno has it for the moment. That's H-Wire Spirit, who is just a little bit farther back. Someone's gone off there and put out a huge trail of smoke. As they come up on TVR badge 79 once again. Ardno will get to his inside, should be able to clear him on corner exit. And Shadow will follow suit without issue. Spirit may actually be held up just a bit. He has to try and dive to the inside. Can't make the move stick in time, though. Villa has now closed back in on Dindu, and Dindu is within drafting range of Light all over again. And then this duo of Ardno and Shadow coming up on a bit of traffic once more. Shadow has a run once again. Ardno defends the outside. Shadow is not going to go to a move on the inside, not this time. Meanwhile, ZR Villa watches this battle between Light and Dindu. He's hoping these two make contact, hold each other up, and start bleeding off significant amounts of time in the process. That's a bit of a hiccup by Light. Dindu lunges. So Light's ahead of Dindu for the moment, but it does not look like it's over by any means. Just about 20 minutes through this second stint. And our top three all still run on top of each other. Fourth and fifth are not that far behind either. If these three got into it and started doing a lot of physical contact, door bang, it would bring fourth and fifth place right back up into the fray all over again. Watching as our top three fire off into turns 4, 5, and 6. And here comes fourth and fifth place. But it does not seem like anyone has the confidence to make an overtake at this stage of the event. Dindu continues to run just behind NDL Light. So now we're getting to the point where we have to wonder about pit stop strategy. When will drivers begin to make their first round of pit stops here? Looking at the fuel and tire wear of our top 5, 14% still in the tank for NDL Light. For NDL Dindu, 18%, but he's also got a little bit of engine damage apparently. ZR Villa, who runs in third, he's at 12%. So Dindu is positioned to go a little bit longer than the drivers around him. Then you have Ardno and Shadow. Ardno also positioned to go long on this fuel tank, and Shadow back here in 5th. Not likely to go as long, so we might see a scenario where Dindu and Ardno stay out significantly longer than the other 3 drivers here in our top 5 positions. HYR Spirit kind of hanging out in the 6th spot, but he doesn't seem to have the pace to keep up with the top 5 ahead. HYR Fabi continues to be the highest running of all the cars that is not a Porsche or an Acura. Then you have AFZ Minero, who is in another one of those ZR-styled paint schemes. He is up to 8th right now. LMP Porsche, who is in an Acura, which is a bonkers scenario. He is currently running in 9th position. 10th is Ferrari. We're used to normally seeing Ferrari running way higher up the grid, and that was a bold overtake there by Ferrari on those 2 touring cars there. 11th is Mazmatos, which is the highest of the pretty much irrelevant Corvettes. 12th is Neil Rick, who is 2nd of those Corvettes. Warrior Knight is 13th, 3rd of those Corvettes. Then you have Whoosh Planks, who is in this Porsche, trying to make this overtake. And then Two Kinds Flora is running in the Red Bull Porsche, just a little bit behind them right now. ZR Villa is starting to lose touch with this NDL duo at the head of the field. Thing is that stalking and catching is one thing. Dindu has not really been able to make the pass stick. Dindu was actually leading earlier before Light caught him. Light made a bold move around the outside, got by Dindu for the lead, but he's not left Dindu behind. So they seem to be relatively even in pace. The question may just come down to who's the more aggressive and knows how to use the aggression in a measured way to snipe the win off of the other, as this duo continues to slowly peel away from ZR Villa here. Oh, and Villa way off into the dirt back there. Down the straight. All right, and now onto the longest straight. Thing is that both these Acuras seem to be relatively even when it comes to their ability to put power down, and while the draft is enough to help Dindu, it does not look like it's enough to pull him up alongside Light before the braking zone, and Dindu is not close enough to make a Hail Mary dive bomb going into turn 4 right now. So this is just a prolonged stalking battle, and as long as Light is not holding Dindu up too much going through the S's, I could very easily see these guys not really making anything out of it. I could see this duo just being stuck side by side like this for a prolonged period of time. So meanwhile, farther back, this is Ardno and Shadow here. Shadow slides a little wide. Ardno still right underneath him. Both these drivers is making a few small, tiny mistakes, and it is gradually bringing HYR Spirit into him now. So we might see a scenario where we have 3, if not 4 Porsches all fighting for positions 3 through 6. It does seem like here in this stint, Acura has a very distinct advantage over the rest of the field. And we are now in the middle of our first round of pit stops, it would appear, as HYR Fabi, who is in that Mercedes, has gone ahead and pit out of the 7th position now. So pit stops now underway here at Mid-Ohio. Neil Rick is going ahead and making a stop. One of our top 2. NDL Light has already burned a hole through that left rear tire. NDL Dindu is still doing a much better job managing his own rubber. So I could see a scenario where Light pits and Dindu stays out for a few more laps to try and get him on the overcut. Still, Light's not pit this time. Dindu stays right behind, but ZR Villa will go ahead and pit out of the 3rd position. He's going to be betting on ending up in relatively clean track where when he does come out. NDL Shadow will pit, so will HYR Spirit. But as I anticipated earlier, Ardno will stay out a little longer than the drivers around him. When it comes to the question of the overcut versus the undercut, we don't really know which is superior, because more often what matters is just what traffic you end up in the middle of when you come out of the pit lane, rather than if the overcut or undercut is actually better than the other. Just traffic management is just making up so much of all the decisions here. And Light and Dindu are about to catch last place in category, I believe. That is Whoosh Planks. Yeah, well, they've already passed Whoosh Planks. That is Neil Rick, who they are about to have to deal with, as Neil Rick has already made a stop. Now he's at risk of going a lap down to these 2 Acuras. Again, Corvette's very, very good in top end, but Mid-Ohio does not have an ultra-long straightaway, and the handling characteristics of those Corvettes are absolutely trash. So these Acuras just destroy them. If we have a single Corvette finish on the lead lap in any of the stints today, it would be an outright miracle. And there goes NDL Light ducking into the pits now. So Light does not want to have to deal with traffic, but Dindu is going to stay out for a little bit longer, going to try and turn some laps in what he hopes will end up being clean air, and use that to leapfrog Light going forward. He's going to get around the outside of this Corvette, and will clear him with no issue. So Dindu clears Ardno. Well, not Ardno. Dindu clears Neil Rick. But we still know that Dindu will have to pit sooner rather than later. We just don't know when. We look at the fuel and tire wear. He's already in the 50% in the tire life. He's got 5% left in the fuel tank. I would imagine if he knows what he's doing, he would pit right away. Light's going to have to deal with a little bit of touring car traffic, but he can pass him easily in a straight line. No real problem there. There's still a little bit more touring car traffic ahead that he may have to catch by the start of this upcoming lap. So both of these drivers dealing with a little bit of traffic issue here. Kind Flora and Mazmatos both in the pits this time by. Will Dindu or Ardno jump into the pit box this time by? No. Dindu is going to stay out for another lap here. Ardno staying out, Dindu staying out. There's not enough fuel left in Ardno's car. He has to pit at the end of this lap. I imagine the same is going to be true for Dindu as well. Dindu is trying to keep the wear on his tires as even as possible around all 4 corners. NDL Light's already been out here for several laps. His tires are nice enough to temperature, but now he has to deal with traffic in the form of the touring car category. He goes to the inside of one of the Honda touring cars and dives to the inside of one of the MG touring cars, and Light makes no problem out of those touring cars. So now it's GT all over again. We're waiting on LMP Porsche, who is well down the order, Warrior Knight, who is almost a lap down, along with Dindu and Ardno to go ahead and make their first of what will be 3 required stops over the day. Here comes Dindu into the pit box now. We're anticipating Ardno is going to join this time as well. Yes, he does. Oh, and that's that Flora. Yes, I believe that was Flora who went off back there. It was Flora who went off back there. No signs of damage, though. All right, does Light get back ahead of Ardno and Dindu? That is the big question. Already, Dindu is rolling down pit lane. Here comes Light coming down the front straightaway. Down through turn 1 now. Dindu's put the power down. He's on the inside, but Light will get him on acceleration out. So in the end, not a single change between the two of them. Oh, but Dindu high centers it on the curb, is a little bit wide. And now the gap starts opening up in Light's favor. ZR Villa maintains his position over Ardno, but Ardno has pretty decisively cleared Shadow, and HYR Spirit is actually starting to close in on Shadow as well. Warrior Knight going ahead and making his stop, so he'll be the last driver to stop. He went 31 minutes and some change before making a pit stop here. So that's actually a little bit impressive. But now that pit stops are open, we're going to go ahead and ride on board with the lap on India Light's car, giving you an idea what a flying lap looks like with the driver who seems to be the fastest on track right now. We'll be back momentarily here at Mid-Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back here to Mid-Ohio as you look at our top two, India Light and India Dindu, fired off through the hairpin keyhole, followed by ZR Villa. After that is India Ardno, then India Shadow, and HYR Spirit. Traffic starting to be a little bit of an issue once again here for our leaders. India Light trying to get to the inside of TBR badge 79. And now that's going to end up holding up Dindu. Dindu's going to try and go the long way around that Audi touring car. There's a little bit of contact. Not a lot. The Airnet Explorer, Acura, will stay on track, but he will lose just a little bit more time. Thing is that now Light is being held up by traffic as well. And I believe that is one of the Chevrolets. I think that might be whoosh planks. Again, those Chevys just have no capability around this circuit. It's probably one of the worst tracks in the entire game for the Chevrolet entry. I'm honestly shocked there were so many people who signed up for the Chevrolet in today's event. But it looks like Dindu will dispatch that Chevy just a little bit easier than Light did. And all of a sudden, these two are back onto it. Nose to tail once again. It's a little bit farther back. This is Ferrari who's putting pressure on HYR Fabi. Again, Fabi is the only car running in the top 9 that is not a Acura or a Porsche. Actually, I think it's the only one in the top 10. Yeah, it's the only one in the top 10 that is not an Acura or a Porsche. But it seems like Fabi is, and his team in general, are just fighting a struggling, losing battle. The car just is not suited for this circuit nearly as well as the Acura or the Porsches are. Once again, though, we take a look at our top two on track. And it looks like second place Dindu was significantly held up there by RMS Rookie, who is your leader right now in the touring car category. This car had to make 5 pit stops in Stint 1 not due to accident, but because on stop 1, they forgot to put the fuel in the car, so he had to make an emergency stop the following lap. And then when he made his next stop later on, they made the exact same mistake all over again. So this car is well behind in overall distance, but it has been the fastest touring car thus far today. They are opening up a gap slowly but surely on TBR Bad 79's entry. This is Ferrari, who is still stuck behind HYR Fabi. Both of them will dispatch Fear to Mask there. This one's been a little bit cleaner of an event. We've not seen any catastrophic accidents thus far, at least, as we're about 37 minutes into a 100-minute run, so a little bit over a third of the way through this stint right now. At this moment, though, it seems like the event has settled down into a bit of a rhythm now. Everyone seems to have pretty much stabilized where they're going to be on merit, at least. Every now and again, HYR Spirit looks like he's able to close on Ardno and Shadow, but Spirit just seems to be getting a little bit more unlucky when it comes to traffic and where he catches them. And that is the main thing that keeps pushing him back away from the rest of the top 5. Bit of a slide there out of the rear of that Porsche. Once again, a look at HYR Fabi and Ferrari here. This might be it. Ferrari had a bit of a run there. The Mercedes could put the power down, got the car back ahead, but Ferrari has a fantastic draft this time. They're coming up on Two Kinds Floor, who is a lap down right now. No move from Ferrari, not that time. Something happened to floppy disk Hero. Perhaps. Might have been overtaken by Sergeant Strabowski there. Oh, Ferrari runs right into the back of Fabi. Fabi's barely able to keep that car on circuit, though. Inside line is open. Here comes Ferrari to the inside as they come into the final corner. Can't keep it alongside. They fire back on the start-finish straight away. No change. Boy, you can see how Ferrari is just not really struggling to hold the ideal lanes. Oh, did Ardno get by Shadow? Yes, it does appear that has happened, and HYR Spirit has caught this duo as well. So now 4th, 5th, and 6th all back to having a bit of a spat with each other once again. Mind you, all these drivers pit at slightly different times in the race. Boy, Ardno takes a really, really wide sliding line through there. Not going to be the greatest of exits. 1 second. Ardno is at 27.8% fuel. Shadow is at 20% fuel, so he'll have to pit sooner. And HYR Spirit is at 29% fuel. So Spirit could pit a little bit later than both of them, but Shadow will definitely have to be one who pits earlier. Of our top 3, Light continues to lead. He has gradually opened up a gap between himself and Dindu. He's at 23% right now in the fuel tank. NDL Dindu, who waited about 2 extra laps, he's at 18% right now. Then you have ZR Villa here, who's at 18 as well. So now, Light is the one who can go a little bit farther on fuel than Dindu. Meanwhile, in the touring car category, there's not really a whole lot of fighting left. All those positions, except for Floppy Disk Hero and Sergeant Strabowski for 4th and 5th, seem to have been decided, though. So we are going to go ahead and ride on board with this man here, RMS Rookie, who is currently your leader in touring car. We will be back momentarily here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We're going to take a short ad break as we ride on board here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. Real quickly, we want to go ahead and give you a rundown through the entire grid from the back to the front in all categories. Keen Bryce is currently running last in the touring car class right now in this number 13 Audi. This car seems to have been snake bitten all day today. 5th place is currently Sergeant Strabowski, but he's had some sort of issue. He seems to have had a disconnect that suddenly dropped a huge chunk of time. Something's gone wrong with Strabowski. We don't know what, but he is ranked 5th. 4th place in touring car is Floppy Disk Hero in this number 147 BFL machine at the moment. And he is about to be overtaken by 3 different Porsches in a straight line. You need to be careful here. You don't want to get ran over from behind here by Spirit, and it will not be an issue. Third place in touring cars is Fear the Mask, who has already been knocked off circuit once by one of the top category cars. He just wants to have a silent day to bring home a respectable top 3 run. He got disconnected in the prior stint. Second place is your winner in stint 1. It was TBR Bad 79, but he has not had anything in the pace compared to what your current leader is in touring cars. That is RMS Rookie. In the GT category, going from last to first, 15th place is Too Kind Floor, who has been having a bit of trouble keeping the car on track. He's not been unbearably off pace, it's just been struggles with keeping that car on track. 14th place is Whoosh Planks right now, who is in this number 22 Porsche. 13th is Warrior Knight in the Corvette, the last of the Corvettes running. 12th is Neo Rick, who is in the number 36 Corvette. 11th is AFTZ Minero, AFZ Minero. He is running 11th in this Porsche. 10th is Mazmatos, which is the highest we have seen one of these Corvettes run all day. 9th is Ferrari, but he has gone ahead and made a second pit stop a little earlier than anticipated. We're not sure why. He had been running a little bit higher before this point. 8th is LMP Porsche, who is ironically an Acura and not one of the dominant ports. 7th place is the highest running car that is not a Porsche or an Acura. It is this Mercedes of HYR Fabi. 6th place is HYR Spirit, who continues to be locked onto the rear bumper of NDL Shadow, who in turn is also locked on to the rear bumper of NDL Ardno here. Then you get to your podium drivers. Third place is ZR Villa, who seems to be able to run just kind of all on his own, but doesn't seem to have the ability to really move anything close to the top 2 right now. Second place is Indiel Dindu, who at one point had been leading, but lost the lead to Light, and as this race has gone on, he has just seen his pace dribble away compared to Indiel Light, who looks like he is going to walk off with an easy stint victory here in that irrational number I Team Noodle machine. And that is your rundown of the entire field from last to first right now. We are anticipating pit stops should be coming in the next few laps here. Indiel Dindu will likely be one of our first leaders to go ahead and jump into the pits. He's only at 8.2% fuel in the tank right now. ZR Villa is at 7.8, so he'll likely have to come at the same lap, if not a little sooner. Then you have oh, hello. Am I seeing this right? Spirits moved ahead of Ardno. Ardno has gone off. Ardno's gone off somewhere. So it looks like Ardno has slid off circuit somewhere around the circuit here. Also, I do want to say thank you to anyone who is watching. I do appreciate you guys following this, and the greater IARA community also appreciates you guys being here and showing your support as well. But yes, Indiel Ardno seems to have had some sort of issue there in the S's, and he has completely fallen out of the top 5 positions. So while we still have 3 Indiel drivers running the top 4 positions, this 4th one is nowhere near the front, as HYR Spirit, who's starting to make his way up through the grid. Acura's run in the 1st and 2nd. Porsche's run 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th right now, though. Still trying to navigate Fear the Master there. And it looks like they'll clear him without too much issue. Gotta be careful. You don't want to be side by side through these corners if you can help it. As they fire back onto the front straightaway once again. By the start-finish straight. Spirit seems to be a little bit better at holding those tighter inside lines. The other Porsches all seem to be running slightly wider lines. They let the car slide out a bit more. HYR Fabi in that Mercedes is now going to pit out of the 7th position. Spirit's got a draft on Shadow. Is he going to try and set up for a dive bomb here? Does not look like it, not yet. There's still a little bit more traffic up ahead, but it will be more GT category traffic, so it will take them a little bit longer to catch them, and it will be a little bit harder to overtake them. But the handling characteristics of the Acuras and the Porsches have been supreme, and they have been able to overtake cars anywhere on track, even if you're in one of those Chevrolets or Mercedes GT cars. The Acuras and the Porsches are able to pass them in the twisties with no issue. ZR Villa is going to pit out of the 3rd position. So Villa will be the first of our podium drivers to go ahead and blink and make a stop here. We're anticipating that Dindu will be pitting at the end of this lap. Interesting enough, his tires are not that heavily worn compared to India Light, who has already put quite a bit of wear on this rubber set. So we're likely going to see Light be the one who pushes the tires past an extreme point, and it is Dindu who's going to be pitting very early and won't have any tire fall off. But I imagine these two are going to be pitting only about 2 or 3 laps apart from each other. Light will be pitting a little bit later. So earlier it was Dindu who pitted later than Light, but Dindu, I guess, he went for a short fill, and that short fill strategy just has not played out in his favor whatsoever. After the pit stop, ZR Villa is running and was comparatively clean air right now. Arno is in 5th. Spirit is in 4th. Oh, wait, was that the leader in Touring Cars? No, that was bad. That was 2nd place in Touring Cars, I think. No, who was it? Someone went around back there. Was it Bryce? Looks like it was Bryce again. There's no damage, but it looks like he was hit and was knocked completely sideways once again here. Indiel Dindu pitting this lap as anticipated. Also, RMS Rookie, your leader in Touring Cars, have gone ahead and made a stop just a little bit earlier than what Badge is stopped at. He's already completed his service, though. TNR Badge in the lead now. Indiel Shadow has gone ahead and joined Indiel Dindu in the pits. So now Spirit is all the way up into the 2nd position as he continues to stretch his own fuel tank, but his tires are not looking that great right now. Who was that? Was that Villa who just went off there? That was not Villa. Who was that? Was it Miniero? It was Miniero who went off in the keyhole. I couldn't see why he went off, but Miniero went off in the keyhole there. All right, now we turn our focus once again to Indiel Light. We're anticipating he'll pit at the end of this lap. If he absolutely needs to, he could stay out for another lap, but this is the lap I imagine he's going to come in this pit box. No, he will stay out one more lap. Is this a dangerous strategy? That is the big question. The driver who had been closest to him, Indiel Dindu, is still dealing with traffic, but Light's going to be dealing with traffic as well. So it's not like there's a significant difference when it comes to how clean the track is for this duo. HYR Spirit now going to go ahead, jump into the pit box now. So does Mazmatos, so does TBR Badge. So with Badge pitting, that should put RMS Rookie back in the lead in the touring car class. ZR Villa moves back up into the 4th position for the moment. Dindu being held up, though, by Miniero. And yes, Rookie has retaken the lead in the touring car category. Light, we are guaranteed, is going to be pitting at the end of this lap. Arno, interestingly enough, could go a lap longer if he so chooses, but I wouldn't suggest doing it. Yep, here comes Light into the pits now. We look at Dindu, who is now, for the moment, in clean air. But when Light comes out, he'll be in clean air as well. I do not think Dindu is close enough to catch Indiel Light. Indeed, Light's already moving down the pit lane straightaway. So I believe Light has only continued to add to his gap over Indiel Dindu. Interesting enough, despite making a stop, Light maintained the lead. So Ardno, while he's now caught back up to the rear of Light, Ardno's not actually led, despite being off strategy, interestingly enough. That really just goes to show how, at least here in Stint 2, these Acuras are the class of the field. Nothing else seems to be on the level of those Indiel Acuras today. LMP Porsche making another stop. What is the reasoning for this? No sign of damage, but does not look like they put enough fuel in that car. We saw this derail a run by drivers in the touring car class in Stint 1, and it looks like it may have happened to Nope, never mind. I guess this was a scheduled stop. Porsche's just making his stop as late as possible. The only other drivers who have yet to still make a second stop is AFZ Miniero, Indiel Ardno, Warrior Knight, Whoosh Planks, and Two Kind Floor. And as I say that, Ardno is making his second stop right now. There is also Fear to Mask in the bottom category, the touring car category, who has yet to still make his second stop. Here comes Whoosh Planks into the pits now. Mazmatos here running just ahead of HYR Spirit, who is fourth on track at the moment. So Spirit has been slowly moving up to the field. He has now gotten by both Shadow and Ardno. The next Porsche that Spirit would have to go after would be ZR Villa, who's about half of the back straightaway ahead of him. There's still about 42 minutes left in the race. It is still a distinct possibility for Spirit to catch ZR Villa here. Still waiting on Miniero and Warrior Knight to go ahead and make a stop. Miniero is, interestingly, he's positioned in just the right area to really give some headache here to Spirit. Now, with how low Miniero's tire wear is, I have to wonder if Miniero, when he pitted last, if he put in a full fuel tank and medium tires. That's a bold strategy, Patton. I don't know why you would ever try and do that here. The soft tires can last about 25 minutes. Well, Miniero does not attempt to hold up Spirit whatsoever. Spirit goes around the outside into the dirt to complete that overtake. That's a bold strategy, Patton. This is Warrior Knight, who is in the Corvette. He's got a little bit of engine damage, but he'll likely be pain at the end of this lap. And Fear to Mask is coming into the pits right now as well. So with that in mind, Warrior Knight will likely pit at the end of this lap. And outside Miniero, who seems to be on a completely unique strategy all on his own, I believe that will be the entirety of the field having completed their mandatory second pit stop. We're right on board with Indiel Ardno as he's trying to navigate through some of this traffic here. We're going to go ahead and ride silently for a lap on board with Indiel Ardno here. We'll be back momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. For some reason, while I'm not sure what the reason is right now, Sergeant Stravosky has gone ahead and made his third stop already. I couldn't tell if he damaged the car. It looked like there was some transmission and engine damage, but I did not get to check his car soon enough to see if he had damage from an incident on track or what. But this is going to basically put Sergeant Stravosky behind the 8 ball because he basically has to stay out on this set of tires and fuel for 38 minutes before this event is over. Not saying it's not doable, but he's going to be slow, especially near the end when the tires really fall off. Meanwhile, this is NDL Light. Does not seem to be having too much of an issue at the moment. He is gradually opening the gap between himself and NDL Dindu. This Acura duo has been the class of the field throughout the run today. Third place is ZR Villa in this Porsche. Fourth place is HYR Spirit, who has been slowly but surely moving his way up the grid. Fifth place is NDL Shadow. Sixth place is NDL Ardno. Seventh is HYR Fabi, who is the highest running driver that is not in a Porsche or an Acura. Eighth place is Ferrari. Ninth place is LMP Porsche. 10th place is Mazmatos, which is the highest of the 3 Corvettes, the highest we have seen any of the Corvette GT cars run all day long. 11th is Miniero in another Porsche, but remember, Miniero is on a completely alternate strategy where he is trying to go a long run on the medium tires. I'm really not sure what Miniero's strategy is here because there's absolutely no way it gets him anything higher than a 10th or 11th, but I can't control it. At least someone's trying to do something unique, at least. Gives us something to talk about. Neil Rick is running down here in 12th. 13th place is Warrior Knight, the last of the Corvettes that are still running. 14th is Whoosh Planks, who has just been completely off pace all day long. And Toucan Flora, who hasn't been too far off pace, but has had a lot of trouble staying on track, is down here last of the GTs. In the touring car category, it is RMS Rookie, who has been gradually extending his lead over TBR Badge 79. This is the car that took home second in the prior stint. Third place is third place is Fear the Mask. I want to make like a Fear the Reaper joke, but I can't figure out a good way to make it work. I don't know. I'll think of something eventually, hopefully. Fourth place is Floppy Disk Hero. Fifth place is Sergeant Stravosky, who has now made 4 stops at this point in the event. I'm not sure what's going on there. And then sixth place is Keen Bryce 828. This Audi in particular seems to have been incredibly snake-bit. It's gone multiple laps down in both Stint 1 and Stint 2 throughout the event today. But that is your rundown at this point. We are an hour and 5 minutes through Stint 2, meaning that we have 35 minutes left in this stint. And remember, we'll still have 2 more stints after this one. And if you're really a sucker for racing, we will be covering the season opener for the PPRL NASCAR League way later tonight, well after this is over. That will be at about 10 p.m. Eastern. That there is LMP Porsche, who is in one of the Acuras, and he is the slowest of the Acuras. The LMP teams have just been absolutely snake-bit. They had good qualifying pace, but the LMP teams have had absolutely no race pace whatsoever in either of the stints that they have been in thus far. still, we do seem to have calmed down a little bit. Everyone's really spread out at this point, and there's not really any serious battles going on. There are some stalking scenarios here, like here, where Indiel Ardno can see Indiel's shadow farther up the road and is stalking him, hoping to try and catch him off guard while dealing with some traffic. But the traffic itself is also spraying out enough that that's not so much of an issue anymore either. There is this here, though, between Mazmatos and AFZ Miniero. Remember, Miniero still has yet to make their second stop. They're on a harder tire compound. Somehow, though, despite that, Miniero is legitimately starting to crawl back up the grid bit by bit here. But the big problem for Miniero is that with 32 minutes left... 32? No, 27 minutes left. Nope, 32. It's 32. I'm right. With 32 minutes left, he still has to make 2 more stops, and the last of those stops have to come within the next 27 minutes. So I'm not really sure what Miniero's strategy is here, but I do not have a lot of confidence in it working, whatever his strat is. Our top 3 seem to have become pretty stable at this point in the event. HYR Spirit's forward momentum on ZR Villa seems to have stalled out. So it does look like our finishing results for our podium positions are going to be Light, Dindu, and Villa in that order. So good job, if it does hold that way to the end, good job to ZR Villa for having a consistent pair of third place results. The problem is it's just not going to be enough to win overall. It does seem like the NDL team really have figured out the Acura. It's a little bit hard to tell which is actually the better car between the Acura and the Porsche. In Stint 1, the Acura and the Porsche seem to be relatively well balanced. This stint, though, Acura's run 1st, 7th, and 9th, while Porsches run 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th with almost no issue whatsoever. So it's really hard to tell if the Acuras are just really, really good, or if it's just those NDL guys who are in the Acuras have figured it out way better than the other drivers who are also in the Acuras today. Up into the keyhole hairpin for HYR Spirit once more. Again, more than anything else, I wonder if Miniero is not aware of the mandated 3 stops. You are required to make 3 stops over the course of the event. He's only done 1. I really wonder if Miniero is just not aware that he is going to have to make 2 more stops. So even though Miniero is now in a position where he is starting to pull away from the drivers that he had been fighting with off and on, he's going to lose so much time making a required second stop. Because one of the weird features of this game is that even if you come into the pits and change absolutely nothing on the car, you will still be required to stay stationary in pit lane for, the game says 2.5 seconds, but it's really about 2.72 seconds. So, yeah, I'm not really 100% sure what this strategy is for Miniero. I wonder if they were caught up in an accident and mistimed and thought that the accident hit them at a bad time, so they put on the mediums hoping that would let them make up ground. That's the only thing I can legitimately think of that might explain why he is running this wild strategy. All 21 drivers that started this stint are still running on circuit at this stage of the event. NDL Light is your leader. At this point, everyone who is in the top 8 is still on the lead lap. Ferrari is the last driver still running on the lead lap at this stage of the event. "28 minutes left in the event. So we are anticipating the final round of pit stops any moment now. Lights held up just a little bit by traffic there. Dindu seems to have taken a little bit of engine damage, so I imagine he will pit the moment his pit window opens, just so he can repair that engine damage. Everyone has gotten so spread out now that traffic is kind of an equal problem for everyone. It's not like you're going to be dealing with gauntlets of cars. You're just going to be dealing with one or two almost anywhere you are at on the circuit now. So we might be even in a position where overcut versus undercut might actually have a serious a payoff now, because you're going to be dealing with roughly the same amount of moderate traffic everywhere on circuit here. Oh, and Dindu gets a tire in the dirt and is sideways. And that's more very valuable time he's going to lose in the process here. Light is not struggling nearly as much, although he is coming up on traffic all over again. That, I believe, is Floppy Disk Hero, who's just gone by. And that up there is one of the Corvettes. I believe that is Warrior Knight that India Light is about to put a second lap down here. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, I'm hoping we will catch the next round of pit stops, the final round of pit stops for the majority of the field, and we'll be able to stick with the race to the end. HYR Fabi is going ahead and jumping into the pits, though. I believe that makes Fabi the first driver to make the last pit stop. So pit stops are underway. We are going to be back momentarily here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Mid-Ohio. Pit stops. The final round of pit stops for most of the field are underway. Fabi, Ferrari have made their stops. Porsche and Villa are making their stops now. But this man we are looking at here, AFZ Miniero, we do not know what this strategy is. He still has yet to make his second stop, let alone his third stop. And he has less than 20 minutes, basically, to make the mandatory 2 remaining stops in this event here. But Villa, once again, will be one of the first drivers to go ahead. Well, one of the first drivers, the first driver of our top 5 to go ahead and make the stop. About 23 minutes left in the event. Villa's going to pull to the inside here of Porsche. But Porsche will cross him over on exit. And then Porsche gets a tire into the dirt, and here comes Villa right back by. Made a little bit more contact, just not as quick or smooth, I imagine, as Villa wanted, but it's pretty obvious that Villa has not had anything for those two Acras that are leading right now at this stage of the event. Mind you, we will be here to the end of this stint. We will not take any more breaks. We will be here to the end of this stint now. We will be here for the last 23 minutes. AFZ Mini Aero finally making their second stop, but again, they will be required to make a third stop in the next 18 minutes here. When it comes to the touring car category, Sergeant Stravoski has already made all of his mandated stops, but we are waiting to see when RMS Rookie here, your leader, will go ahead and make his third and final required stop. Floppy Disk Hero has gone ahead and made his third and final required stop this time by. This is TBR Badge, who's running second, doing a little bit better on tire management, has a little bit more fuel also. I imagine he'll be paying a little bit sooner. Mosmatos making a second stop now, or his third stop now in this Corvette. I look at Mini Aero real quick. I am curious what this strategy call is. They put a full load of fuel and new tires on. What in the devil is this I don't know. I don't know what in the devil they're trying to do here. Neil Rick has gone ahead with Mosmatos to pit this time by. Our top 5 all have yet to make their stops, though. Spirit is running in a patch of clean air right now when Villa is as well. So Villa basically is doing the extreme undercut versus Spirit. We look at Spirit's fuel tank right now. He's got 2.6%. He'll have to pit this time, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So we'll take a look at Villa, see where ZR Villa ends up in relation to Spirit. Also, NDL Shadow is going to go ahead and pit this time by. I imagine Ardno will stay out a little bit longer. Yes, indeed, Ardno does stay out a little bit longer this time. They have a slide power down. Villa didn't have too much of an issue getting out of there. He'll clear Shadow without issue. What of Spirit? He'll clear Spirit and immediately begins opening that gap once again. Now, mind you, Spirit's going to have a slight tire advantage going forward, but I think Villa should be far enough ahead of Spirit that he might be enough for Villa to hold on to a potential top 3 result here. Dindu is closing down bit by bit on Light over these last few laps, but it might be too little too late. Light is almost guaranteed to be pitting this time by. What of Dindu? Is he going to pit this time or not? He's got tire, but he's got to have to pit. He's almost out of fuel. So Dindu pits this time, but Light is going to stay out for another circuit this time by. So Light stays out for one more lap. I don't think he could go 2 more laps. I think he'll have to pit at the end of this lap. But mind you, Dindu was just starting to close in on Light there just before he made his stop. So Dindu's already cleared pit stop, and he is still well ahead of Ardno as well. So Ardno will not be a factor in the fight for the top positions. I think Ardno's fight is really just going to continue to be with Shadow and maybe Spirit if Spirit ends up in some sort of issue. Villa having to deal with just a little bit of touring car traffic here. Will have to try and dive by that green and yellow car before the keyhole. He will get by him. RMS Rookie and TBR Badge both pit at the exact same time. So no big change there between them. This is Fear Damask, who is running in third. He still has yet to make his third and final required pit stop. Has more than enough fuel, has some tire wear as well, some extra tire life, but he should probably pit sooner rather than later here. And NDL Light's in the pit. All right, so NDL Light is in the pit. So let's take a look at NDL Dindu. Will NDL Dindu be able to close down on NDL Light at all? That is the question. We know Ardno is likely going to be pitting very shortly as well, so he is not going to be a factor in this. Already, Light is going down the start-finish straight. He's already down in turn 1. Dindu's crossed the start-finish line. Light's coming out of the pit already. He is now trying to accelerate up the speed. Dindu is going to be at a slightly higher top speed, but the gap between the two of them is nice and big, and not only that, there is at least 3 cars between Dindu and Light. So that settles that battle without any issue whatsoever between Light and Dindu. It looked like someone went off circuit there. I think Ferrari may have gone off track there. Shouldn't compromise Dindu any. But I think Ferrari went off circuit there, which will not help him whatsoever, obviously. There's still one car between Light and Dindu right now, although Light has almost immediately caught traffic going into the twisties now. So the only drivers in the top category who have yet to pit is Ardno and Warrior Knight and Miniero. Again, we do not know what Miniero's strategy was. He ran a long time on what we believe were medium tires on a full fuel tank. Then he pitted and put another gigantic full set of fuel in the car. I have no idea what their strategy is. They still have about 12 minutes to make their last required stop, but I don't know what Miniero's strategy is. Warrior Knight goes ahead and dives into the pit lane now. Mind you, he was the one who was holding up India Light, so now Light will have clean air for a good chunk of this following lap here. Ardno finally jumping into the pits. So where is Ardno going to end up in relation to ZR Villa, HYR Spirit, and NDL Shadow? That is going to be the question. It looks like Villa is going to maintain his lead over Spirit without issue. And yes, Villa goes back into third position. Here comes Spirit. Will Spirit be able to clip Ardno? He does with no issue. What of NDL Shadow? Will Shadow get back by Ardno here? He also will get back by Ardno without issue. You see him overtake him right there with just the wall in between. So the only driver in GT category who has yet to make their final stop is Miniero. It's a little bit different in the bottom category. Keen Bryce, the last place in Touring Cars, finally making his final stop. Fear the Mask still has yet to make his final stop. He still has 11 minutes left to do it. He's fine, but I would imagine he would like to consider doing it sooner rather than later. He also already has a little bit of fuel in the tank, so he could go ahead, throw some soft tires on, and make it a short fill. But he is so far behind second and third place, and well enough ahead of fourth place. I don't really think that talking in terms of tenths of seconds are really going to help when he is tens of seconds ahead or behind the closest drivers to him right now. The scale of the distance and difference in scales of time is just so significant that whatever strategy the Mask has is not really going to get him anything significantly extra going forward here. So right now, at this point in the race, only our top 7 drivers are on the lead lap. HYR Fabi is the only driver on the lead lap that is not in an Acura or a Porsche, although with 15 minutes left, there's no guarantee that that will hold to the end here. Did he just go off? Looked like he went off there. He definitely seems to be struggling more than a little bit. So 15 minutes left. 10 minutes remain for Miniero and Fear the Mask to knock out their final pit stops. And I think Miniero's wacky-ass strategy will be all it takes to give one of these Chevrolets their first top 10 result, although an overall distance is not going to help. The Chevrolets just do not have a single strength being played in their favor here. While they are a great straight-line speed car, this straightaway here at Mid-Ohio is nothing compared to what you're used to at most other circuits. Fear the Mask finally coming in the pit lane. So I imagine this will be a very, very short fill. Throw on some soft tires, put just a little bit of fuel in, he should be good to the end here. Yep, only 40% fuel. A very nice and quick stop, but again, he is so far away from anyone else, it's not really going to pay him any strong dividends here. This is Miniero, who has just gone a second lap down now to your leader, NDL Light. This is HYR Fabi, who is caught behind your leader in Touring Cars. as he is rushing just to try and stay on the lead lap. Down the straight. I don't think Fabi is going to be able to stay on the lead lap by the end of this. Ardno will definitely be able to, unless he ends up in an accident, but I think Fabi's going to end up being a lap down by the time this is all over. Well, that's Fabi off circuit again. So yeah, seems like the handling's completely gone away on that Mercedes. Basically, there are no real fights for position left. There is this stalking battle that's been off and on between Shadow and Ardno. As you see right now, Shadow is tucked up behind one of those Chevrolets. Ardno's just a little bit farther back. Oh, a little bit of contact, and all of a sudden, here comes Ardno. All of a sudden, the fight's alive between this duo of Porsches. Shadow still trapped behind that Chevrolet. Can't make anything stick through there. He's going to try and go the long way around. And he clears them. Ardno could not follow suit. Ardno's still trapped behind. He looks inside, looks outside, finally gets to the inside. And he's through. But for a moment, this fight kicked back alive. Also of note, in the touring car class, only the top 3 drivers in touring cars are set to finish on the lead lap. It's just been one of those days. But Shadow is now starting to pull away from NDL Ardno again. Reminder, Ardno waited a long time to make their stop, so Ardno will have a very slight tire advantage to the end, but with only 11 minutes left, I don't think there's going to be enough time for that tire advantage to really play out in Ardno's favor in any big way here. Still, this is the closest thing we have to a legitimate battle on circuit right now, and all it takes is for Shadow to be held up by traffic at a very inopportune point to completely change how this is going. Speaking of which, that is Keen Bryce right there in the touring car category, who indeed is holding up that number 53, still holding him up. And the pink and white Porsche gets by with little issue. The gap shrinks just a little bit again. Now it's clean track ahead for this duo for just a little bit longer. Won't be clean forever. There is some touring cars ahead. About 5 minutes left. Not 5 minutes, 5 laps left. Mini Arrow still has not yet made his final required stop. A reminder, you have to get all of your final stops done before that race timer says 25 minutes. So he has less than 4 minutes to knock out his final required stop. We do not know what Mini Arrow's strategy is, but if he does not get that final stop done in that time, he will more than likely be subject to either a massive penalty, if not an outright disqualification. Not quite nose to tail between these two Porsches. Stars and Stravosky making a 5th pit stop late in the event. So that's 2 stints in a row where we have seen a touring car entry have to make 5 stops in a stint that really only requires 3. Still no change between this duo. Ardno gets right behind Shadow, but has not shown any ability to get alongside. Just about nose to tail. Through turn 1. Their lines almost perfect mirrors of each other, but Ardno sent wide coming out of turn 1 through the draft. Still right there behind Shadow, though. Power down as they come out of the keyhole. Ardno is not close enough to set up for a big dive bomb going into turn 4, I believe. So again, no changes. Once more, we take a look at Mini Aero. Surely he's going to pit this time to knock out this required mandatory pit stop. No, he is not. He's got 1 minute and 34 seconds to get around and make this stop. Is Mini Aero going to make his 3rd required stop in time? Or is he going to be at risk of getting a massive penalty that may be up to and including a complete stint disqualification? The wildest part of it all is that this strategy that Mini Aero is on, it's not like it's gotten him a ridiculously good run. I think if he just ran the normal all-soft strategy, I think he would legitimately be running in 10th or maybe even 9th position. These Porsches are quite competent. So he's on a bad strategy, and a strategy that looks like it might be illegal. He's got 40 seconds to jump into the pits. If he does not jump into the pits at the end of this lap, he is likely going to be subject to a disqualification. Shadow's gotten by Ardno. Shadow got by Ardno. Quicken. I want to check on Mini Aero. Is he going to make the stop? 18 seconds left. 17. 16. No, he is driven by Mini Aero. I don't know what is going on, but he is going to get disqualified. At least a massive distance penalty, if not an outright disqualification, for not taking the mandatory final pit stop. Meanwhile, this duo, Shadow and Ardno, continue to fight. Porsche on Porsche to the end. This is really the only other serious fight left on circuit right now. Only the top 6 drivers are on the lead lap. Only Porsches and Acuras. Oh, Shadow is going to clear Rookie without too much issue there. And Ardno is going to be completely compromised by that touring car. With less than 5 minutes left, that might be enough for Shadow to stay ahead of Ardno to the end here. Real quickly, just going to take a quick look at everyone's fuel to make sure we're not going to have someone running out near the end. 13%, so yeah, light should be fine to the end. Didn't do. 11%. A little bit tighter, but he should still be fine. ZR Villa. This is the driver to be a little bit more concerned about for fuel, but he has some engine damage, so that will help him save fuel a little bit. Then we have HYR Spirit, who's raced his way up into a 4th position. He'll easily be fine on fuel. NDL Shadow here. He'll be fine on fuel. NDL Ardno, just behind. He'll easily be fine on fuel. So keep an eye on ZR Villa. He may have a bit of a fuel mileage issue coming to the final laps here. 3.5 minutes left. So that's about 2 full laps for the GT category. Ardno has a draft on Shadow this time. Close enough. Is he going to try and go for a big dive into turn 4? No, he stays behind. He knows he'll get another shot through there. But will he be close enough next time? They take slightly alternate lines to turn 5 through there. Track is briefly clear ahead, but they're going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic on their next lap. Coming up to the keyhole once again, there's going to be a bit of traffic. Is that going to be enough to hold Shadow up on exit and give Ardno a run? This would be Ardno's last good chance at a run. Traffic was not close enough to hold up Shadow. So they'll both clear without issue. I think that gap has gotten too big. I think Shadow's going to hold on to 5th as long as he doesn't have a self-inflicted accident here. Real quickly, we check on ZR Villa and his fuel numbers. Once again, he is at 5% right now. He'll have about an entire lap around, so he should still be good on fuel. We do a check on Dindu as well. Yep, everyone should be good on fuel to the end here. Well, this time the touring car category was a lot... Overall, the entire event was a lot calmer, but especially the touring car category. RMS Rookie is going to easily walk off with an easy victory here and close down some of the gap that he had to TBR Badge, or his team had to TBR Badge after Stint 1. But Badge will still come home in 2nd place, 3rd place, and last of the touring cars to be on the lead lap in that category will be Fear Damask. 4th place will be Floppy Disk Hero. Got a little bit of engine damage and a lot of tire wear. Remember, Floppy Disk was involved in an incident earlier, so he's trying to jump on an alternate strategy to try and make something happen here. 5th place is Sergeant Stravosky, who's had to make 2 extra stops late in the event. And then 6th place is Keen Bryce. And we look at the race timer, 7 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Over. Plow. And your winner for GT category will be India Nightlight. India Light. Followed by India Didn't Do. After that will be ZR Villa. Then HYR Spirit, who we cannot see. 5th place will be India Shadow, just ahead of India Ardno. 7th place will be HYR Favi, first of the drivers a lap down. 8th will be Ferrari. 9th will be LMP Porsche. 10th will be Maztos. 11th will be AFZ Miniero, but this will likely be, because he skipped a pit stop, he will likely be either outright disqualified or be given a massive distance penalty. 12th will be Neil Rick. 13th will be Warrior Knight. 14th will be Whoosh Planks. And 15th will be Too Kind Flora. In the touring car category, it is RMS Rookie, followed by TBR Badge, then Fear Damask, then Floppy Disk Hero, Sergeant Stravosky, and Keen Bryce. So that will wrap up Stint 1. We're going to knock out an ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to get some interviews done with some of our podium finishers in the 2 categories. We'll be back momentarily here at Mid-Ohio. All right, coming into the party right now is NDL Light. Light, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, buddy, loud and clear.
All right, in the Xbox party, there should be an option to include your audio. Can you go ahead and hit that for me?
I sure did.
All right, Light, it was a fantastic drive. Fighting early on, and then you just gradually open up the gap on the rest of everyone else to an easy Stint win. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
Track was fast. This car is insane. Once it hooks up and the rubber's on the track, it just slides out almost. I couldn't thank all the teammates that helped me out with the tune and stuff. Really hope Dendu could have caught back up and we could have had a nice battle for you, but it just traffic. It split us up real easily. So.
Well, 2 stints down, 2 to go. Who's going to be taking over the car in Stint 3?
Avocado will be taking the reins. Hopefully he can catch back up to Cosmic, and I'll be finishing out.
Almost guaranteed win.
Yes, hopefully. This track is very technical, so it's very, very technical. A lot of on throttle, off throttle, half throttle stuff. A lot of weird things that you're not used to. A lot of hills and spinning tires that just it throws a loop like every other track does.
All right. Well, either way, mate. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Get rested so you're ready to do Stint 4 later.
Thank you so much, man.
All right. And that is the word from NDL Light. No one else has shown any interest in jumping in yet, so we're going to wait just a few more seconds, but if no one else jumps in, then we will go ahead and wrap up this broadcast and start preparing for the broadcast of Stint 3 here momentarily. Oh, here we are, coming into the party right now. Let's see here. Coming into the party right now is NDL Dindu. Dindu, can you hear me? Go ahead and include your audio in the Xbox party.
Yep, I have done.
All right. Interesting run, Dindu. It seemed like you were the only person who was anywhere close to NDL Light, but it all just kind of gradually fell apart. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
Yeah, it was a decent race. I made a few mistakes. But Light was just really quick. I don't think I could catch him. And so yeah, Cosmic had a good first stint though, so I think we're still in the lead. So overall, still pretty happy, and we've got 2 more stints to go, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, I have to ask who's going to be jumping in and taking over that car for you in Stint 3?
Cosmic is going back in, and then I will do Stint 4.
All right, so 2 stints apiece for you guys. We'll keep an eye on what you guys can do going forward, mate. All right, and also coming to the party right now is TBR Badge. Badge, a victory and a 2nd place in your 2 stints thus far. What do you have to say about your second 2-hour period here at Mid-Ohio?
It was very long. My hands feel like they're going to fall off. But my rookie was flying. I couldn't really keep up with him at the start. But hopefully Mr. White can bring it home.
All right, is Mr. White doing both Stint 3 and 4, or is he only doing 3?
He's doing both, yeah.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye then on what Mr. White can do. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, Badge. A pair of top 2 finishes are not too bad.
Cheers, thank you.
All right, also coming to the party is RMS Rookie. Rookie, can you hear me? Hello. In the Xbox party, there will be a little box that you'll need to click. It says include my audio. Please go ahead and include that. All right. Rookie, it was a fantastic drive. You just seemed to be gone from everybody else. What was the secret sauce that let you just dominate like that today?
I was just going consistency. I just wanted same lap times over and over and over again, doing the same thing over and over. And it worked. Just keeping out the GT's way, just going for it. And I feel like I got pretty lucky. So there we go. It worked.
Boy, you can say that again. Boy, did it ever work. I have to ask now who's going to be taking over the car in Stint 3.
It's going to be Josh now. RMS Josh.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on RMS Josh. You guys are on the comeback trail. Let's see if you can continue where you've left off. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. Good job on the Stint win.
All right, thank you very much. See you later.
All right, and with that in mind, that will wrap up our broadcast for Stint 2, but don't you worry, we'll be back in just a few minutes to start up the broadcast for Stint 3 here at Mid-Ohio. We'll be back momentarily. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I've been your host for today's broadcast, Same Layer 13. Farewell and goodbye for all of, 4 minutes.